There you go. What up, though? Rap talk. About to have some fun. Poetry and conversations. I'm a couple minutes late, I know. On Negro time. What about 4 minutes? I had to get my wine right. Spilling all the wine, Jack. Who was that? Was that a Coolie High? It wasn't Coach Cheese. What was Coach Cheese' man name? Well, you spilling all the wine, Jack. I thank you for tuning in, though. Appreciate you. Poetry and conversations. Got a topic for tonight. Of course, I'm gonna get into a poem or two. Gotta do a couple of pieces. Gotta squeeze in a couple of poems of poetry for you. All doing a mix of the ordeal. Got a phone line you can call in too. The phone number's in the description. If you want to call in and add to the show, or got a comment, or like I say, you want to speak your piece, that's cool too. But I thank you for tuning in. Poetry and conversations. And tonight, we're gonna talk about a couple of comments that Lil Duval made talking about podcasting and entertainment. Matter of fact, before I do that, I'm gonna say the actual tweet. The actual tweet that he put up. I need to do that. Why did that do that? But he basically was saying that it seems like now music, well, hip hop has become more about podcasting than it is about music now. So how you feel about that? Is there too much podcasting going on? Are they doing too much? And by the way, this ain't a podcast. This is a show. This ain't no but a YouTube show. Even though I got the audio, but I ain't put this audio on none of them other platforms and all that. Spotify and iTunes and all that. Which some people do need to realize, gotta realize, that podcast is really audio. Like you can just listen to it at will. You know, you gotta visualize. You can look at me or look at whatever the artist is. That's just a show, basically a TV show or just a YouTube show or however. Or somebody just going live or whatever. But there's details to it. But before we dive into the topic and put the different layers in it, I'm going to my notebook, do a poem of peace. This poem I'm looking at right now is this piece I wrote called Work Hard in Silence. Indeed. Be like that sometimes. Sometimes that's how you gotta get shit done. Work hard in silence. Let your work speak for itself. You ain't gotta flabbergast all your moves and everything you do and all that. Sometimes I told y'all, sometimes talking too much, that shit throw off energy. People will discourage you from your thoughts or whatever you got in motion and shit like that, or whatever you got planned. Check this poem of peace out. Work hard in silence. I'm gonna read this off the ink though. Consistency is key. Set yourself free. Ain't no age limit on success. And it's subjective. You determine what it could be. The goal ain't always to be famous, rich, or known. Some of us just love what we do, want to influence, spread a message, and be compensated and come back home. Am I wrong? You see, the weak in competition to do it for the public. You see, I wanted to stay low, but I knew my words was going to open up doors before I even touched it. That's because me and God discussed it. He said, put in work to just improve. Stop giving free access, putting energy in all the wrong places and telling people your next move. He said, I got you. Work, build in silence. Take a break, fall back from people. Whatever you need, I can provide it. Meditate to them songs. Keep writing them poems. Keep building relationships, touching souls every time you perform. And as I carry on, look at the response that I get. All this love is unrewarded in public from what I did in private. Work hard in silence. Snap, 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 snaps. That's that poem of peace. Work hard in silence. Snap, 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 snaps. And let's dive in. Let's get into the topic. Let's talk that shit. Poetry and conversations. So like I said, Lil Duval put out a tweet, which is gaining a lot of bit of steam. He said, that hip hop is becoming more about podcasting than it is about the music. And let's dissect it. That's what we're here for. We got a little bit of time. I got a little wine today too. Let's dissect it. Let's talk about it. On one hand, I agree. It's too much. Like anything. Once it get popular, what usually happens? I mean, y'all know how this shit go. Once something get popular, what usually happens? Everybody run to it. And see, that's why we have the fact. That's why we in this exact position that we in right now. To where, how can I say? I don't want to say talent or music, even though it's a lot of creativity. But that's why we in this predicament that we in right now. Because everybody just sit back and watch and don't want to be the first. It's true. I mean, look at this shit I'm doing. Poetry. I ain't saying I'm the first, but this whole blend of rap and poetry, this whole rap talk movement is different. So the first thing people gonna do is look at it like, okay, well, how can we monetize that? Is that shit gonna make some money? Is it profitable? I mean, where can we put it at to where it just get blown out of proportion to where everybody following this a moneymaker? That's what the first podcasters was doing. They was taking a chance. That's what life is about, taking a chance. Who's going to be that person to jump out there and do shit when it comes to quality and inventing something and taking a risk? And it's a gift and a curse a lot of times too when you're doing something first, because it's always going to be somebody that's going to come after you that's going to take it to another level. So that's the give and take, gift and curse. When you jumping out there and really believing in something that you do, it's always a big chance that somebody's going to come after you and do it better than you. I mean, that's anything. I mean, that's just life. The podcasting, though. Who can we credit first podcaster to? There's a couple names we can throw out there that made noise. We had Combat Jack. I mean, he was like one of the first I was hearing. Cause I used to listen to his shit. I didn't even know who he was, but I used to listen to Combat Jack. I know he passed away. Rest in peace to him. Tax Tone. He locked up. Now these were some of the first names that was popping up when I was listening. Cause I definitely used to listen to Combat Jack. And I learned a lot from listening to him. I know he was a lawyer. I know his backstory because he'd just be talking. He'd just be interviewing people, but he'd talk business. I'm talking about hip hop though. I'm talking about hip hop podcast. Then of course you had Joe Budden. He was doing a lot of stuff early. He was filming himself early. You know, carrying around the camera, stuff like that. And to be honest with you, this is crazy, but I'm gonna say this shit. I don't give a fuck. Nigga, I was one of the first people podcast. Google me. When I say podcast, I ain't gonna say podcast, but I was doing shows and shit. 2007. This before the internet was blowing up and popping. I never forget. I was saving up some money just to buy some time on Least Access TV. I remember I saved about $1,500, something like that. Went to a radio station in Highland Park. Shout out to WHBR, TV 33, RJ Watkins. If you're from Detroit, you know it's history up there. I had a show called Raptalk. I was just buying time, just believing in myself. I remember people laughing at me and shit like, you spending money up there to go be on TV, blah, 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 boom, boom. Now this wasn't podcast. This was just, because what it was, I used to watch a lot of sports shows and I used to see people talking about sports all the time. And I see people call in. And plus, at their station, they had a whole bunch of political shows. People call and talk about political stuff. So it was a combination of two different things. Up there at their station, they used to have a whole bunch of political shows and talk about a lot of views and community stuff. So I knew they had a phone up there, and I knew they had people watching late at night because it was a lot of other hip hop shows on Least Access TV, but most of them all show videos. Like you had 7 Mile to Bell Isle. Now I'm talking a little bit Detroit history right now. If you're a local, you know what I'm talking about. We had all these different, we had Dirty Glove, Street Lowers and all them. We had a whole bunch of different shows, but most of them showed videos. And if they did show videos, or if they did show a clip of talking, they'd be out on the scene somewhere just hanging out, talking, and, hanging out acting silly, just kicking it, you know what I'm saying, doing whatever they do, which is cool. Now mind you, this is like 2007, this before the internet, just Facebook and all that just taking off and flourishing and all that, so they're getting around a little bit. So I'm looking like, okay, I used to just see shows talking about sports. And I used to always just hear and see the different passion of people talking about sports. And not to mention just being in the hood. Because even when we was on the block just chilling or whatever, I used to always notice as we just stood out here and did whatever we did, just chilling, whatever. I used to always notice somewhere during the day of us just hanging out, kicking it, somebody's going to end up arguing about music. We're going to end up talking about music, rap, and I used to think to myself like, this shit happens everywhere. I used to just think to myself like, we just sitting up talking about music. It happens. It still happens every day, whether it's taped or not. You get around a bunch of people, somebody's going to end up talking about some music, and a debate is going to pop out somewhere doing, whether you drinking, kicking it, or whatever. Even sometimes when you with your social, with your lady friend or your guy friend or whatever, you're going to end up talking about some type of discussion or some type of events. And most of the time it was always about music. So then I think to myself, like, what if it was a way that people can call in and talk about music? So I invested in self. Throw the money down. It's buying airtime. And the show was called Rap Talk. That's what a lot of people don't understand. That's what this whole rap talk, even though this rap talk poetry is what I do, but it started for me doing a show called Rap Talk because I always talked about rap music. And that was the name of the show I gave. Even though it's my style of poetry, but it comes from a show that I started like in 2007, which was called Rap Talk. So I just love to talk about music. So anyway, let's just fast forward to today though. Just the communication of just having a podcast. A lot of artists run to it because they see it as a means to reach people. It's kind of like social media. Like you can just tweet out something real fast and you can reach people. But a podcast, when you got a podcast, you can show a different side of your personality too. And that's why I think a lot of artists ran to it. Not to mention there was a money grab. And it's gonna get even bigger though. I mean, y'all seen some of the deals that went down, and the latest biggest deal was the one with $1 million worth of game with Gilly and Wallow. So you know that got even more people running to it. You know, you got your ones that's gonna be the giants. You got your Joe Buttons. You got your Nori's, Drink Champs, $1 million worth of game. And so on and so on. You even got the athletes. They run into the whole podcast game. Because people want to be heard. But it ain't easy. It ain't easy. I'm here to tell you, it ain't easy. Look at this shit. I done told y'all the last couple of weeks I got a phone line. Ain't nobody called in. But I know when I do this shit, I got to carry it on and keep on talking. Just to flourish and make it through the half an hour or every time I want to create the show to be. When you got something to say, you got to be a voice, and you want to give some type of information. Don't just be up there blabbing just because you got a mouth and you talk. You have to be informative. What's going to make people come back to watch? I mean, what is you giving to people? Now, it's cool for a lot of artists to just have something to say, just to show a different side of themselves. But a lot of artists, they try to just package it into their whole ordeal of just being an artist. But sometimes we don't want you for that. That's what some of these rappers and people don't understand. We don't want to see your silly side. We don't want that. We don't want that from you. We got the music. We want that. Although it is a counter to that, because sometimes people do be intrigued so much. They want to see the different things. They want to hear your opinions. They want to see how you feel about certain things. And you have to be careful with that. A lot of y'all artists who will jump into the podcast world, y'all got to be real careful with that shit. Real careful. Because not only you can turn people on, you can turn people off with your opinions. I see it all the time. I see it all the time. I see it on Facebook. I see it on social media. I mean, we all are human. I get it. That's why sometimes I don't even speak on certain things, which can be a detriment or it can go either way for you. All this shit is so tricky. All this shit. That's why I'm just kind of just reading between the lines right now, just communicating with you about it because it's hard. Because on one hand, it could be something that you speak on that you shouldn't even spoke on a podcast or through a social media tweet and all that. Because when people are watching you and you got a voice, sometimes you can't do too much. Because your opinion is your opinion. And people's not going to agree with everything that you say. You watching might not agree with everything that I say right now. But when you put yourself in that position to be a voice, you got to remember, they coming in and reporting every week. First of all, they got to read and catch all the stories just to create their podcast, just to create their show. I'm like, okay, all right, what we talking about today? And some people go through a lot of these subjects with a blind eye who they don't even, you'll be surprised how many of these voices, radio personalities, and all these different people just read headlines and just go out there and just wing it. I'm telling you. And you'll be surprised how many people with voices who will watch some of your posts and take it to their platform and create a whole narrative, and all they did was just read a couple of comments on a big ass post, but they got this big ass platform over here, and they got thousands and millions of people watching, but they ain't even did all the research on it. But they just go through a couple of posts, just read through a couple of comments, catch the gist of it, and create their own content. That's the tricky part with all this shit. That's why in the end, you're gonna be able to tell who's the real students of all this shit. Because you gotta study every day. This ain't no fly-by-night shit. This ain't no just, okay, they getting money, let me go over here get money too. Start a podcast, let's get it. No, you gotta do research. And I don't wanna, ain't like I'm a journalist myself, but I have went to school for some of this shit, even though a lot of this stuff changed and progress on. But you do have to study. You have to read up on shit. You can't just run your mouth and just think everybody's gonna tag along just because you talking. No. You have to have some type of information to give. That's why some of these podcasts last longer than others. But now if your shit built off of just goofing off and all that, more power to you. Because people gonna know what they tuning in for. So that could be the easy thing for some. Let's just take drink chat for instance. When you tune into that shit, you know when you watching them get drunk just to talk about any and everything. That's why that show is so successful, because it's a platform to where they just loosen up. They just kicking it just like anybody would. But they artists, you probably never seen in that element. So when they get drunk and just say some goofy shit, or some silly shit, or some shit that they probably didn't even want to say. And once that shit on tape, it's out there. So I bet there's a lot of people who woke up and come from that show like, God damn, I said that last night. But that's the genius of that show. Have a format, have some type of, where you going with the shit when you create it? Because people gonna be watching. It might take some time, it might take whatever. The podcasting is an outlet though. You gotta remember, we live in a world where everybody got a voice. Everybody wanna be heard. Of course, it started with social media. Social media, you can tweet out and say whatever you want to say. People respond. You'll feel some type of importance. You'll feel like, okay, I got a couple people watching me. Oh, my shit matter. You get more watching. Boom, boom. You start saying more. But with all this shit gonna come responsibility. I mean, what you gonna stand for? Especially, and I definitely feel for the people who on the political shit. Oh my God. I mean, how long do y'all be winging that shit to where y'all political about this, but y'all change y'all views for this? But over here, when this happened, y'all reverse it. Oh man. You caught up in this shit if you want to. The best advice I can give is be yourself at all times. When you yourself, you ain't got shit to worry about. If you say some shit, stand on it, mean it, or whatever, don't try to go off on a limb and talk about shit you don't know about. You was not about to ever see me sitting up here talking about some straight up political USA, this, Russia, whatever, something happened. Cause that's not my forte, whatever. If you come over here, you gonna hear, more like you gonna hear me talking about some music a little bit. I don't say a little bit, a lot. You can catch some poetry, some motivation. People gotta know what to come to you for. If you got a gossip channel, that's what they coming over there for. If your podcast about gossip, you better Wendy Williams your ass the fuck out and have all the gossip. Tasha K, whoever their names is, you better be watching they shit, keep up with they shit, and twist it to your shit, and know who your audience is. So in a sense, I kind of feel Lil Duval. You gotta understand that these artists, a lot of them ain't selling like they used to be selling. But they still gonna want to do shows. They still want to go out and tour. So they gotta be in your face for something. Why y'all think all these people be doing all this wild shit and saying shit on their own Instagrams and Facebooks? They need your attention. They want your attention. All of this shit is smoke and mirrors, but when you got something to give and it's something of value, niggas can't take that from you. I mean, you can be silly and goofy all you want, but I tell you what, once you get famous for that, just keep in mind you're gonna have to keep doing that shit. You're gonna have to get goofier. I hate to tell you. You crack one joke, you better have 50 of them loaded in the chamber. You jump off a porch. Next week you better be jumping off a boat. I don't know. But it is what it is. It's so much. It's so much we can do and preserve when it comes to podcasting, because it is a lot of value in it. It is another way of self-expression. It is an outlet, and it is a market out there for no matter what you talk about and what you do. It's a market out there, and you never know who's into what you have to give, especially once you learn your audience and know where you can take it. That's the value of it. So I'm gonna chime on out. I think I want to give y'all one more poem though. One more poem apiece though. Just like that, y'all that one. That work hard in silence. I'm gonna give you this one I wrote called "When You Know What You Want." I was having a real rough day when I wrote this one. Let me read this one off the ink. Listen to me. I was almost at the ledge, this close to giving up. Took a little break, the devil got busy and almost ate me up. Don't write nothing today. You ain't got no views, don't make no video. Pull out your phone, call that cute girl you met the other day, grab a drink, go to the stove. I had to let go. At the same time, hold on. Can't let the nonsense defeat me or the negativity set the tone. Kids need me. Am I mental? I need myself. Got a day off work, let's work on tomorrow, so we ain't always got to depend on someone else. Why when I get tired of my own shit, that's when I work harder. Busting these moves, researching, in a gutter hoping my kids see my sacrifices while being a father. It's a scary road, detours, hills, unseen fog and bumps. But everything's come full circle when you know what you want. When you know what you want. Rap talk. Snap, 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 snap. Be sure to like and subscribe. Share the video to make the channel grow. This is a show. This is not a podcast. If I did flick the audio, that's when it become a podcast. Know the difference. Some do, some don't. Podcast is audio when you listen to it on iTunes, Spotify, all them other platforms, SoundCloud, all that stuff. When you got all them different versions of it, that's when it's considered a podcast. So to Lil Duval point, of course it's oversaturated. There's money involved now. Look what happened to hip hop. Once money get involved, people run to it. It's going to get oversaturated. It's going to be more artists that's going to run to the podcast game. I'm curious to see who will get the next big deal. I mean, it's a lot of podcasts that's growing and flourishing, but the ones with the information, them the ones that need to be pushed out there the most. And I'm noticing some of y'all too. Y'all recycling these people too. I'm noticing that. They'll be over here, then they over here. So it's somebody behind the hidden hands of this shit that's pulling in. They pulling on this shit like, okay, well, we gotta corner this market. It's kind of like how video shows was, if you think about it. You just had, when you only had TRL and what's that, 106 and Park, these couple video shows, like they was the only big networks to see video shows. So pretty soon, I won't be surprised if it just be, well, I can't say that because YouTube ain't going anywhere. But it might just come to where just that one company or them couple companies like them big distribution companies that just buy up all the big podcasts. And then they all just become a conglomerate to where it's like, even though we verse each other, but we still got that same hidden hand behind all of us that's pushing all these same people out. And we all interviewing the same people over and over to show the world who's the end all be all. But as long as the underground flourish and thrive, we're gonna be alright. If you got a voice, use it. I can't take that away from you. If you got a voice, use it. But it's a lot to learn. This shit is new. It's getting saturated. It is what it is. But I'll get with y'all in a minute though. I thank y'all for tuning in though. Poetry and conversation. Rap talk. Never be afraid to dream.